yourself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening.
Evening.
We are back for the final fans forum of the season, and what a season it's been. Fantastic season, accumulated with a brilliant result on Sunday against Burnley at Turf Moor, which resulted in them being relegated. But look, we'll get into all that in a second. Chris, the main man, how are you?
Good, mate. All good. Yeah. Raring to go for this final show of the season. Been looking forward to it all day. Actually, yeah, should be a good show. Although I've got to admit, Pete, and I know you're probably going to ask me in a minute. This one is a slightly weird one for me because I didn't watch the game, so I've seen the highlights and I know what happened and I've seen the goals and stuff. But it would be very it'd be very naive of me to even think that I'd be able to kind of talk about the game in detail because, quite honestly, I wouldn't be able to. So it'd be interesting to hear the guest thoughts of how things have got on. As I say, to me it looked like Callum Wilson, well taken penalty, lovely finish as well for the second one, right in the bottom corner. And Pete, you'll know this yourself, having played football. He won't get the credit he deserves for that, because when you actually watch the replay, he could quite easily have missed that. And I know it sounds silly and people will go, what are you on about? But St. Maximin put a fair bit of pace on that ball. And for him to just nestle it into the corner, and it was right in the corner, the keeper dived the right way, obviously. So for him to, do that finish was really good. And as I say, I'm sure he's the topic for everybody at the moment. And I'm sure we'll talk about St. Maximin in a bit more detail as the show goes on. But from what I saw, again, it was a really good assist from St. Maximin. So fair play there.
Yeah, very, very good. You're absolutely right about Callum Wilson's goal. It's a tough finish, and it would have been probably easier to miss. The timing has to be perfect. And I don't know if anyone's watched that goal back, but the way, where he scores and where he puts the ball, that's the only place that Nick Pope can't get to. It's the only place on the pitch that he cannot get to. And so it just makes it an outstanding goal, and he really does look back to his best. Callum Wilson, he looks fit, he looks strong, he looks healthy, and you know what, long may it continue. But it wasn't a star-studded performance, but considering who we were playing against and the way and the style in which they play, I thought it was a good performance. I thought it was a performance of a team that is going in the right direction. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I know you were at Turf Moor, weren't you, Pete? I'd be interested to know, what was the atmosphere like from the fans? I'm assuming the majority stayed, for the last game of the season, to kind of clap the lads off and stuff. But was it because and you'll get what I mean when I say this, Pete. I wouldn't say I was disappointed with the atmosphere when I went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but it wasn't what I'm used to. So like the last, other away games that we've been to, like Old Trafford, Goodison, places like that, the atmosphere was electric, singing all the way through. But you'll know yourself, for the Tottenham game, there was periods where there was no singing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not just talking about the second half because it was so poor. But I mean, even the first half, it was quite quiet for a Newcastle away end. But what was it like at Turf Moor?
You know what? It was anything but. It was a party atmosphere. It was a real party atmosphere from outside the stadium. So I got outside the stadium. I was out there sort of an hour before kickoff, and you could see the fans from both teams kind of rolling in, and they were singing, chanting. It was a really good feel about everything. A few chants there towards Burnley about that going down and whatever, just to kind of rile things up now and again. But in most part, it was in good spirits. There was one incident as we were about to walk into the stadium where the Newcastle and Burnley fans, a small section of them going at it. And I think it was Newcastle fan pushed him to the floor, and there was a bit of a ruckus there. But other than that, nothing but party atmosphere. Like the marquee right next to the away stand as you go in. There was a marquee to the left where all the drinks and stuff were being sold. It was packed out. Everyone singing, everyone chanting, and then you go into the away end, and there's one big entrance right into the middle as you go in, and everyone was piled in about 5-6 minutes before kickoff, and the singing, the chanting, everything was up, and it was a real kind of like just a real good feeling. And for most of that 90 minutes, it was just non-stop singing, if I'm honest. Just like non-stop singing. It was I don't know whether it sounded like things on Sky or wherever you're watching it, but it really did feel like it was a real positive atmosphere. Nothing to lose. We were the ones that were kind of in the best position. We played the best football, so we had even more reason to get on and support the boys and sing and chant and enjoy it. And the fact that we scored 2 fantastic goals and ended up winning the game just meant it was even more so. And the vast majority of the fans, away fans, stayed. We stayed longer than the Burnley fans did, considering they got relegated and their players went and clapped them around the stadium. We stayed longer because we had our players there in front of us, and they didn't stay that long in front of us. They clapped a little bit and then they were gone. Eddie Howe came over, and you guys might have not seen this on TV, but it's the first time I've seen it from Eddie Howe. And he kind of waited right till the end, and he came by with Tinder, and he just gave one of these, like a proper fist bump, and everyone just erupted because it's the first time I've seen him do it. And I think he's probably held back because of the fact that obviously he wanted to make sure. He just wanted to make sure that he didn't want to give anything away. But it was almost like that relief. We'd done it. The season was over. His objective was more than complete. And just to see him just give one of those like to the fans, he was just like, get in there. And everyone just erupted. It was brilliant.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it was really good anyway, mate. Obviously gutted to miss it, but yeah, it sounds like it was a really good one, which is great.
Yeah, and look, I saw I was never going to go back to Turf Moor. It's not the best of places, I've got to be honest. But it's not. It's a very, very old ground. Looks like it's going to fall apart at any point. But they've actually done out the away bit a little bit more. It's a little bit more modern at the back. But yeah, it made for a great day.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff.
But of course, you guys would have watched it on TV. I think 1 or 2 me in the chat might have even been there. Let's get to it. Let's get the fans' thoughts on Newcastle's not just result yesterday, but their fantastic season that we've had overall. So first caller in, another regular. Welcome in, Tony. How you doing, Tony?
Hi lads, you all right?
You all right, Tony?
Before I start, I want to go. Thank you to our great owners and our fantastic manager Eddie Howe and the whole team effort for this season to keep us up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's raise the drink to that.
I'll raise a bit of water.
I'll take for that.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to have the Jack Daniels and Coke, and I thought, no, I'm going for a can instead.
Remember when we all used to go on about cans?
Yes.
It's all we used to do, wasn't it? Cans.
Well, we'll raise one for the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely.
Brilliant result yesterday. First of all, before I go on to the matches, I want to just talk about these pitch invasions that we've seen over the past couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So we had Nottingham Forest one last Monday we had the Huddersfield one. Then we had the one on Tuesday at Nottingham Forest, which Billy Sharp was unfortunately injured in, which was absolutely disgraceful. Mm. And I even think 6 months isn't long enough for that guy, if I'm honest. Considering he's actually, he's caused a serious injury and he's had to have stitches. Yeah. So he should have got longer than that. But obviously the laws in this country, we all know they're all wrong anyway. And then I watched Everton's game on Thursday. And when Calvert-Lewin scored that goal, they were straight on that pitch. And I thought, hang on, what are you doing? This is still the middle of the game. And so that was stopped for a few minutes while they got the fans back off the pitch. And then obviously they had the 7 minutes of extra time because obviously the fan invasion on 85 minutes when Calvert-Lewin scored. So then the fans came on again. And I just thought, I'm not being funny, but what are we witnessing here? And this is the Premier League. You know, it's again, this is Everton, where we've already seen one issue this season where that guy tied himself to the goalpost when they played us.
Yeah.
And the guy with a knife as well and got it handed back by the steward. Now, surely the authorities are going to have to look into this because seriously, it's going to get to the stage where somebody's going to get hurt. And then yesterday we saw the scenes at Manchester City and the Aston Villa goalkeeper getting assaulted as well. Mm-hmm. And then what annoys me even more is Frank Lampard has the cheek to sit in a press conference and laugh about it and say, oh, well, why don't we have the fans on the pitch as long as they behave? What's wrong with that? Well, hang on a minute. For a start, it's against the law to come onto a football field of play. It's actually against the law. And for Frank Lampard to be condoning that, absolutely disgraceful of that man. I really can't stand that bloke anyway. But to actually sit there and condone that, I hope the FA come down on hard on him because he should not be even saying that at all. He should have been condemning that they come on that pitch. And the thing is, the only way you're going to stop this, and it's not by giving fines, I think you're going to have to start doing point deductions. So from the start of next season, all these teams that have had trouble, give them a points deduction. That's the only way you're going to stamp this out. And obviously, I forgot the Swindon and Port Vale one, where you had Swindon players being abused by Port Vale fans as well. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think the only way forward is a points deduction to show some sort of authority to try and stamp it out.
Do you know what I'm about to say might be a little bit controversial. Pete, I haven't heard your thoughts on this. And the reason they might be controversial is because I know people will share a different opinion. So I've got to be clear in what I say. I've seen all these pitch invasions over the last couple of weeks. I don't condone any of the actions of some fans. And don't forget, we say this a lot. And some fans, every fan base has got idiots in the fan base and people who do things that are completely wrong. And, you know, I don't condone any players being approached, attacked, assaulted. I think it's completely wrong. You know, Patrick Vieira shouldn't have had to put up with what he put up with. Rob Olsen shouldn't have had to put up with it. You know, I could go on. But see, from my perspective, so I'm sitting at home watching the Crystal Palace Everton game, and I see, you know, Palace go 2-0 up half time. My lad's at the game. He's in the Everton end, and my brother-in-law, and they were split up. And like when the third goal went in, should the fans have come on the pitch when the goal went in? Absolutely not. They shouldn't have. You know, and again, I don't condone that. It's disrupting the play. It's not fair on the players. It's just not a good thing. But when the full-time whistle went and all the fans flooded onto the pitch, barring all of the absolutely inexcusable actions of some, and I don't condone that to happen. And I struggle to understand why, as a fan, and I think we said this on the loads of chat, didn't we, Pete? I struggle to realise as a fan, if I'm that fan and say Newcastle stay up, last kick of the season, you know, all the fans are absolutely buzzing. The last thing I want to do is approach an opposing player and give them abuse or do anything because one, it's not in my nature, and two, I'm thinking, I'm overjoyed that my club stayed up. I'm overjoyed with the players who've done what they've done, you know, and you see fans, you know, hugging, taking pictures and stuff like that. And when all the fans flooded onto the pitch at Goodison, I was watching because obviously I knew my lad was there and my brother-in-law, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh, like that moment, because it's all about relief for me. And I've been there as a Newcastle fan, you know, when we've been really down in the dumps, and you know we get a last minute winner, or you see another club get a winner. Like I remember we did a match day live, and I think it was Fulham and Wolves, and Adama Traore scored, and you know that relief, that energy, that you know that feeling where you're like, oh my god, we've escaped it, you know this is going to help and stuff like that. So the way I look at it, and again, you know, I'm trying to do this in the nicest and best possible way. When all the fans flooded onto the pitch, I got it. I got it. Now, some fans, I think, what are you doing? It's wrong. You know, they shouldn't be doing some of the stuff that they were doing. But I would say the vast majority of those fans, whether it be 95% of those fans, they're on there, they're taking pictures, they're making memories. And I'm thinking to myself, like, when they were on there, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. When I knew my lad was on the pitch, I was thinking to myself, wow, he's just, this moment is going to live with him for the rest of his life. And that's where I have sympathy for some fans who acted appropriately and you know didn't ruin it for themselves or their club. I think to myself, like, they must have loved that. They must have loved that, and you know, to share that moment. And I know some people come out and say, you know, Lampard's wrong for doing it and stuff like that, but he's been involved in football, and I thought to myself, he's a fan. He, you know, I get it. I understand it. Do I think that it's safe? Probably not. Do I think that, you know, obviously if people got hurt and stuff like that, obviously I'd be the first to be like, oh my God, you know, it's terrible and stuff like that. But the vast majority of those fans were just enjoying the moment. And I think to myself, you know, I remember being at Anfield, I was on the front row and Joshua Williams scored. You've probably heard me talk about it loads of times. And honestly, for like a 5 or 10 second gap, I couldn't tell you what happened because like we scored and I just went absolutely bananas. If I just saw people running on the pitch, would I have ran on the pitch? I might have done. Because for that moment, I was lost. And it was pure elation. Would I have gone over to any of the Liverpool players and done anything? Absolutely not. I'd have probably just like hugged the player who scored if I got the opportunity. But I just think sometimes people are quick to judge, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Tony, because you're absolutely right. If something would have happened, if one of these idiotic fans had done something, it's totally wrong, and it must be scary for the players as well. And I do get that because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know, you know, thousands of fans, they've got no control. And I feel sorry for the stewards as well, because the stewards have probably stood there thinking, "Oh my God, something's going to go off here," and people are running past them and pushing them and shoving them, and it must be scary. But equally, I think you've got to take into account. You know, people are going. The majority of people going on that pitch weren't doing it in malice. They were just doing it because of the love for the club and the fact that, you know, they'd stayed up. Most Everton fans would have said weeks ago they were down, and I think most of us thought they were down. So I don't. Do you know what? I'll stop there. And like I say, I hope I'm not offending anyone. I hope anyone's thinking that I'm not saying, you know, that's the right thing to do. But what I'm trying to say is, I get it. I get it. And like I say, a few idiotic fans ruin it for everybody else. And then all of a sudden, you know, Everton fans get called idiots, you know, all because of a few fans who did something, you know, like that when they approached Patrick Vieira, that was just completely wrong, shouldn't have happened. Whereas my lad was on the pitch, behaved himself, and he you know, he's still talking about it now. He still talks to me about it now, and he's showing me pictures and stuff, and I'm thinking, you know, he's got that forever now. He's got that moment forever. Do I want it to happen every week? No, it shouldn't happen every week. But I think that's one moment where you kind of go, yeah, I get that, I get it, because of the sheer emotion of it and the, you know, the joy. But Pete, what do you think? Am I talking a load of rubbish? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying my thoughts on it.
No, I can understand from your perspective, and you've got an example of that, obviously, with your son that you've used as a reason why it can be used as a good thing. But being honest, in this day and age now, you only need a small percentage of people that could ruin it for everybody else. And I get that it, you know, it's a great moment for some. You know, I agree with you. If we had the opportunity to run on the pitch, if we'd have had a moment like that, won the league, you know, whatever, stayed up last game of the season, whatever it was, would we have done it if others were doing it? You know, maybe, but you know, like you said, we are thinking about our own players and celebrating with them and appreciating them at that moment in time. But unfortunately now, in this modern game, we're seeing too many examples. I mean, look, you go to all the pitch invasions that we've had recently. There's been an incident of negativity in all of
that
it.
has.
and no player should be exposed to that. And if that's the case, then there needs to be more police involved. There needs to be more people manning the area to stop that from happening. So, for example, yesterday there was never ever going to be anyone running onto the pitch, whether Burnley stayed up or not. And the reason being is because by 85 minutes, at least, maybe even earlier than that, by 80 minutes, they already had the people. They had people in place, and I can't say that they were stewards because they were kind of dressed and looked different to stewards. So I don't know whether they'd brought people in especially, but they already had them in place. And within 5 minutes to go, even at 90 minutes, there were people at the side instructing them to go, literally saying, like, this is where you need to go, this is what you need to do. And as soon as the final whistle came on, bang, they were on the pitch. And it was a bit weird that they weren't on the edge of the pitch. They actually came probably 10 or 15 yards into the pitch and kind of manned the players. So in effect, what it did, it stopped the players from spreading out right across the pitch. So they pretty much were there to protect the players in and around. So it was never going to happen. And it was probably one of the best, well-organised things that I'd seen. It was only one or two other players, so Tarkowski went off to the far end of the pitch, opposite to where the Newcastle fans were, to clap the Burnley fans. But he had a steward or somebody protecting him, walking him round. Trippier, as respectfully as he is, an ex-Burnley player, he made a beeline. He came to his last. He made a beeline to the Burnley fans, clapped them. He went to Ben Mee, who was on crutches in the dugout because he couldn't go and kind of commiserate the fans. He was just sat there. He went straight, made a beeline to Ben Mee, shook his hand, embraced him, and then came to his last. And he was kind of he had a steward with him. Chris Wood actually went round and clapped the majority of the Burnley fans before he came round to us at the end and then back out. He had a steward with him. It was really well organised. But the problem is not every Premier League or Football League club have the same. And that's the problem. And you're always going to get those idiots. And because of that, they're basically ruining the emotion and the fun that people have running onto the pitch. And they're basically ruining it. That's what's happening. Is that small individuals are making people think differently about something that was an amazing moment. I go back and think about, and it's not our club, but I remember when West Brom staying in the league and Kieran Richardson was a big reason why. He was on loan from Man United and he was a big reason why they stayed in the league. Had a fantastic end to the season. Kept them in the league, and I remember him being lifted up by the West Brom fans, and it was like adulation. It was like he was hailed a hero, and it was all good, done in good taste. Like that was years ago. It's moved on from that, and that's why I think they need to protect the players more. The players are more high profile than ever before. Even Burnley, Newcastle players, are more high profile footballers than what we've seen, sort of far and wide, in this country. And I just think that they need to be protected a little bit more. It's put on the clubs. It's put on the clubs now and it has been for years, to pay for stewards and security. I'm not being funny, but the Premier League should be protecting their players. The Premier League should be forking the bill for this, in my opinion, to ensure that the players are protected, or even go halves. They go half, the Premier League clubs play the other half, but there should be more protection in place for these players.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Pete. And maybe I'm being a bit of an old romantic. I don't know, because obviously, as I say, growing up watching football, when you see all the fans running on and like the relief, the joy, and times have moved on, haven't they? Times have moved on, and you are getting. I mean, like years and years and years ago, you never saw stuff like that. You never, like, no one has ever hit a player or push a player over or antagonize a player. But unfortunately, this day and age, that seems to be a more common theme, doesn't it? Which is totally wrong. So yeah, maybe it is just a case of shutting down and cranking down on things. And I have no issue with that whatsoever. Like, as I say, if that continues, that has to happen. It has to happen, because ultimately keeping everyone safe and making sure that even worse things than what have happened already don't happen again is paramount. What are your thoughts, Tony? I know obviously you brought it up, but
I just thought it was something that I wanted to bring up, and obviously, I mean, I can see some sides of what you're saying, Chris. I mean, majority of them who came on there were probably behaved, but what's more worrying is the fact is, obviously, you're not search going into a stadium. Anybody could have a knife in their pocket, and
it's true.
and not only that, what if rival fans decide to get on the pitch as well? And if a rival fans come on the pitch, then you've got a brawl starting on the pitch. And so the sooner you can stamp this out and discourage it, the better. Maybe all grounds need to upgrade their, like to what Wembley's got. They haven't got like fences, but they're like a barrier, so you can't climb over and get onto the pitch. Maybe that might be a thing that all stadiums have to do, is put like them sort of barrier things up so you can't get onto the pitch at all. Because you can't at Wembley. It's like an L-shaped barrier, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And maybe grounds might have to upgrade to that. But I know what you're saying. There's some people who have behaved themselves, but then, like I say, there might be somebody who's got an offensive weapon.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's player safety as well. And the thing with Everton is, why wasn't there a steward or a few stewards escorting the Crystal Palace team? Because they've got to go from one end of the pitch to the other just to get to their changing rooms. And, I saw one picture where there was an Everton fan. He stood in front of Zaha's. Zaha's walking past with his middle finger up to him. And I thought, that's absolutely bang out of order. Zaha could have reacted to that, but he just ignored him. And,
just to interrupt there, Tony. It goes back to the point that that people made about the Vieira situation. And I'm glad he's not been charged. That he's come out. That he's not going to be charged for that incident. And I'm really glad. Is because and it goes back to when Newcastle played against Everton at Goodison Park. Like the away team has a separate entrance, which is near the away fans, but it's also very close to the home fans in that little corner. And if Vieira was able to go down the tunnel with the Everton players, like in the main tunnel that they used to come down, he would have been able to get out of there. He wouldn't. That situation would have never happened. The fact that the players and the opposition players and the coaching staff have to walk all the way over to the side of the pitch, I don't agree with. I mean, we had the Newcastle players, for example, when we lost that game, but both at half-time and at full-time, there were things thrown at Newcastle players and staff. There were fans kind of rushing forward and giving them dogs abuse on the way in. And it's part of the game. But by putting them just there, you are putting them at risk. You're putting the players at risk where they could just go straight down the tunnel where all the police and security are, as well as the coaching staff. It's just an easy exit, in and out. I get it with regards to COVID, but I don't believe it needs to continue now. And I think if that had been changed, it would have protected the players even better. You would have never had the Vieira situation, and you're not going to get that sense of sort of negativity. It doesn't help. We had the situation. What's that? Well, yeah. You're absolutely right.
That's a good comment. I like that.
It is a good one, but yeah, it's a really good talking point now. And the sad thing is, I think it's going to be a talking point that potentially, if something's not agreed now with the Premier League or English football, that it's one that's just going to continue. It really is. I'm just going to click this comment on Chris 1 second.
Go on, mate. Yeah, go on.
Jordan Team for Life said that were they sprinter stewards? If so, they had football boots on to make sure they could catch the idiots while they're facing the pitch. They actually weren't facing. Well, obviously, in the build-up towards the end of the game, they're obviously facing the pitch. But as the game finished, they came onto the pitch and they were facing outwards to the fans. So they were all kind of stood in a line in like a little bit of a rectangle around where the players were, but they were facing into the stands to see if any fans were trying to get onto the pitch. So they were facing the other way. So might still have been sprinter stewards. I didn't see if they had football boots on or not, but yeah, they were dressed differently than what I'd seen any other steward in any other Premier League ground. But they did their job because they protected the players, and as well as that, there were no fans that came onto the pitch at all at any point, home or away. And maybe the situation allowed the fact to fans not to come on, but it was something that obviously was well handled, and we don't say that very often about situations like this.
Yeah, if it was at Old Trafford, the fans would have got man the match, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I did hear something like that, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. But look, I know we've got a number of people waiting. Tony, just any final thoughts? Wrap up the season.
Yeah. So the game against Arsenal, we were absolutely rampant against them. By half time, we were like 67% possession, and if I'm honest, in that game, we could have probably beat them 5 or 6, and it wouldn't have looked out of place. If I'm honest, because they were absolutely awful. But we were the better team. But I think we were better than what they were. And, and I think the Spurs result affected Arsenal as well, because that demoralised them, that 3-0 to Spurs and the sending off. And then we just added fuel to the fire by beating them. And even Arteta, fair play to him to actually come out. And it's nice to hear an opposing manager come out and say, well, actually, they were 100 times better than our team. And even Xhaka said the same, didn't he? He said, those players tonight were nervous. He says, if they weren't up for the game, they shouldn't have come. And I know a lot of people criticised him for it, but I thought, you know what? He's only telling the truth. He's being honest. If he's not allowed to be honest, then what's the point? And then the game against Burnley, again, I watched that yesterday via Premier Sports. And to be honest with you, we played well against Burnley. When we went 2-0 up, I thought, oh, okay, I can see us getting another 1 or 2 here, because Burnley's going to come out, so they'll leave gaps for us. Maybe Almiron should have put Wilson in, and he could have had a hat-trick. And I know Wilson's a bit disgusted over that. But all in all, when Burnley scored, I thought, oh, here we go. Because if they get an equaliser, I could see Burnley being in the ascendance to win that game. But fair play to Eddie Howe on his interview afterwards to say that I was keeping the sporting integrity of the Premier League by playing a strong team, regardless of what the situation was. As sad as it is to see Burnley go down, when I was hoping it might be Leeds, because I thought Brentford would have beat Leeds, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, same.
I nailed that on as Brentford going to beat Leeds, and even if we beat Burnley would stay up anyway. But it's not to be, and they're in a bit of trouble anyway, Burnley, aren't they? So. But out the Burnley team, if we can get him out, bring James Tarkowski in. I'm not saying he comes in as a starter, but like I said to somebody, and they said, well, why do you want him? He's on a free. And I said, yes, but it's strength and depth as well. You've got to have a squad, I says, and if you've got 2 or 3 defenders as well, that if one of your defenders gets injured during the match, at least you can say, right, I've got Tarkowski on the bench, stick him on. I know he can do a job. So, you need strength in numbers, and with financial fair play, if we can get a couple of frees in, that helps us up as well on financial fair play.
Absolutely.
So depending on sponsors, things like that, like I think Stu said on your show last week, Unloaded, when he said player sales and say a sponsor, say if you raise 160 million out of that, that's before you even touch FFP.
Yeah. And
he's absolutely bang on what he said. Yeah. So we're looking forward to an exciting summer. But, well, now we can actually say we're not going to even think about relegation no more. That's out the window now. That's gone. We look up, and are we better than West Ham? Are we better than Wolves? Are we better than Leicester? Are we better than Brighton? Can we get past Arsenal? Man United? My answer, yes. Why not? We could even do Chelsea, because we matched them up at Stamford Bridge. Yes, we lost to that goal, unfortunately. But other than that, that game was quite even. But the likes of Arsenal, West Ham, Brighton, Leicester, Wolves, we can certainly finish above them, and Man United. So why can't we get in the top 6 next year? I'm not saying we're going to get in the top 6, but why can't we? Well, he finished 8 points or 9 points behind Man United this season.
It's definitely an opportunity.
And like I've said in the past, can you imagine Eddie Howe from the start of the season? We would have probably had a European spot if he'd beaten from the West Ham game at the start of the season.
Well, look, 7 points. I think it's 7 points away from a European spot, 14 points away from the bottom of the league. We are. It's very, very clear where we were closer to by the end of the season, and you go through some of the games at the beginning of the season, the likes of Villa, Southampton, Watford away. You could probably name a few others where we could have got points and that would have propelled us up to the league. You even look at Brentford, Norwich, Watford at home. That would have been enough to maybe give us a top 10 finish. And it just goes to show, what is capable. We don't have to, and I keep saying it, we don't have to produce Champions League football next season throughout the whole season. If we do, we will play Champions League football. There's no doubt about it. We don't have to produce that level of form next season to get where we want to get. West Ham have lost a number of games. West Ham have been inconsistent at times over the course of the season, but they've put results together when they've needed to get the points to accumulate them to finish seventh in the league that got them, Europa Conference football. And there's no reason why we cannot do it again. There's no reason why we cannot be within the conversation. And look, that's something we're going to be talking about a lot over the next sort of 9-10 months. But Tony, I'm going to leave it there just because we've got a few left in the chat. But really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your support and being on. All season, showing your support for the Fans Forum. Me and Chris, we do really, really appreciate it and taking the time out to come and share your thoughts with us and everyone in the chat. So massive thanks to you.
No problem.
And I'm sure we'll be speaking to you soon.
Yeah, and you think 10 years ago we got 5th place in the league, and that was under Mike Ashley we had a decent team, but we can buy even better players now than what we had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So just think where we can go. So I'm just not saying 5th is not the question, is it? But I think top 8 next season at least anyway.
We only hope and pray that it's the way up. But look, massive
no problem, lads. I'll let you get on. And
we'll speak to you soon.
Okay, lads. Take care.
Take care, Tony. All the best, mate.
Bye-bye.
Great to have Tony on, and massive thanks to him for all of his support over the course of the season. Really, really good support, and as always kind of takes his time out on a Monday, as well as everyone else, guys and girls in the chat. We really appreciate it. You guys are what make this show so good. We just facilitate it, and there's already some fantastic questions flying in. The guests are flying in as well. And look, let's not wait around. Let's get the next guest in to get their opinions on all things Newcastle United. So welcome in, Darren. How you doing, Darren?
Hello, boys. You all right?
Good, mate.
Not too bad. Am I right in thinking you were at the game yesterday?
Yes, I was there. You were just behind us, I believe.
Yeah, I was up from the picture that I saw of you. We were. I was to the left, slightly higher up in the stand. But I didn't know. Otherwise, I'd try.
I thought the game yesterday was very strange. I thought the Burnley fans were so quiet. Even before the game was like nothing there. Like I was expecting the tannoy to be loud and the music to be loud. It was none of that. To me, that they accepted they were going down. It just threw me that completely. And I was expecting say noise off. There was nothing. They only done a full celebration when they thought he's getting beat. And when they scored the goal, that's all you heard. You heard from him. And that they were quiet. I was just shocked.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, and I felt exactly the same. That I kind of looking around as they come onto the pitch, and you're expecting this roar and this kind of this cauldron of noise to really kind of put Newcastle under pressure. And to be fair, their players for the first 2 or 3 minutes were pressing us high and putting us under pressure and trying to rile up the crowd. The crowd. You look around, we had them to the, and they were nearer to you than us, but to the right hand side. You're looking at it 5 or 10 minutes in, and they're looking at their phones, they're looking at the lead, trying to find the lead score, rather than looking at what's going on the pitch. And we're just singing and dancing, we're just singing songs and all the rest of it, and just loving life. And you look at them and they're just looking at their phones, thinking, draw up an atmosphere, get behind your players, and it almost played into our hands the fact that they didn't get behind their players. You're absolutely right, Daz. I think there was 2 moments. There was one I think the loudest chant that they gave in the first half was just before. It was just as Callum Wilson put the ball on the spot. They were obviously trying to get that support for Nick Pope, who was in goal. But it was a weird moment to kind of drum up a cheering atmosphere just before a penalty, and not any other time during the game at that point. And then, obviously, like you said, when they scored, there was a little bit of a cheering. I kind of feel sorry for. There was one guy on the right hand side that when
were you wearing a little black? Was you wearing a black jacket?
No, he was an older guy. He was wearing a Burnley top. And he was getting wound up about some of the stick because we were singing the "We'll meet again."
You don't know where.
No way. We were singing the song, and he was getting wound up, and he was riling up, and he was swearing all the rest of it. And then they scored, and then I think they'd heard that Brentford scored, and he's going, "We're not going down. We're not going down." And then very, very quickly everything changed, and he was probably one of the first out of the stadium after the game.
I think the other good chat was you laughed at us. They didn't know what to say to that, did they? You laughed at us. It was funny as well.
It was a strange chant because I had a lot of fans around me saying, "Well, you know, Burnley fans didn't these fans didn't laugh at us, like they weren't laughing at us when we went down, you know, in
I think it was just a party song I was singing. I think it was.
But it is. I think it's to everybody. I think we sing that song to everybody now because everyone did at some point have a little bit of a laugh when Newcastle United got relegated.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was Burnley, whether it was, you know, your Leicesters, your Villas, your Sunderlands, whoever it was, you know, they all had a laugh. Even the top teams kind of had a chuckle when we went down. So the fact that, and they had a chuckle when we were in the relegation zone and we had the takeover, they were all laughing, saying, "Yeah, you got your takeover, but you're going to be the richest club in the Championship," and laughing all the rest of that. And it's kind of like the song is for them and for that situation, not just the relegations, as if to say, you were laughing at us, you know, when we went down, or when we were thinking about, or when we were close to going down earlier on in the season, but you're not the ones laughing now, and you're the ones.
I was shocked that Burnley didn't play the number. That the new kid, the tall lad, he was on. They need to win the game. He wasn't starting. I would say he wasn't starting. I'm like, well.
But I'll ask you the question, Daz. What did he do when he came on?
Nothing. And like,
missed a great chance by the looks of it.
Oh,
to equalise.
Bar that and the head out of the line of target.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they created. Really, like they've got Maxi didn't track back a few times. I was a bit irritated. Like in the second half, he lost the ball a few times. He didn't track back. But he had I think he's passed the ball a couple of times. But just when he loses the ball, he just doesn't get back, mate. Help the team out. And Amron, he needs to learn how to pass the ball too. You know what I mean? But Willis should shout out to 4 goals. And especially in the second half, he kicked up the ball, didn't he? When that one passed the ball to us, Bruno fell over, didn't he?
It's not like he was being marked either. Like Wilson was creating so much space for himself that, like, there was a couple of ones that the Almiron one, to be fair, is the one. Yeah. If he'd squared it, it was a tap in for his hat trick, and that's why it was. He like literally, Miggy hit a wild shot. It was nowhere near going in. He goes to the floor, and
he's laughing afterwards.
Miggy's kind of down on the floor, and Wilson's going mad at him. He's going mad, and he goes over to him. And then he just kind of realizes, like, whatever, and helps him back up, and then just kind of pushes him along and gets on with the game. But it's just like, you can tell how wound up he was. There was another chance with Murphy late on in the game.
Yeah.
Where, to be fair, Murphy, there was a couple of times late on where he had, I can't remember who the left-sided centre-back was. We had him on toast, and he was just tearing him apart, cut inside. He just has to find the man, but he just takes.
Was it Collins, Pete?
It might have been Collins.
The one who's done the handball.
Because Long was on the other side, actually, so I think it was Collins. But it's
and
just
Tarkowski's on the right, isn't he? I think
yes.
of the centre backs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's no, it was. But it wasn't Tarkowski that he was beating. it must have been Collins, but he tore him up and he cut inside, and it's like you're just saying pass it. Everyone's saying pass it, and he should have, but he just takes that extra next touch, which takes it closer to the goalkeeper. So by the time he plays it across, he's too close to the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper gets down, and he palms it away. And if he just plays it earlier, Wilson's free, gets a tap in, because Pope can't get himself set by that point. It's just frustrating. But what were your, apart from obviously the goals and stuff, what was the most pleasing thing you saw about the performance yesterday, Darren?
It's the first time I can play as a cell. I've already had a kind of game. I thought he played well for once. Jamal Lascelles, he looked okay, and Dan Burn, I think Dan Burn makes him look good, because Dan Burn was solid all the way through the game. He's just won everything. Dan Burn, you wouldn't think that he's just coming quality. And he had a really good game, Dan Burn, and like saying Target and Trippier, it looks more solid. You're more, they're not afraid to pass the ball. They used to, on the Bruce, hold the ball long all the time. They're not afraid to take a touch and pass it, which is good to see.
It's Lascelles did play well. I agree. I don't know what your thoughts on that, Chris. Lascelles.
I can't.
Oh, well, yeah,
I heard he's done all right. And to be fair, Pete, when he came in last game, I thought he did okay. When Shaw went off injured, I thought he'd done all right then as well. Maybe he's proven that he does have a very small future with us. Like I say, in 2-3 years' time, I don't think he'd be here. But we've discussed this, haven't we, on Squad Game, that you can't replace the whole team. And maybe he's one of those players who we will keep for transition. Where he stays for another 6, 12, 18 months. Because to be fair to him, since the last few times he's come in, I haven't been as nervous over it. Like when he's played, I thought, he looks okay. Will he get found out against the bigger teams, better strikers? I don't know. But we're not talking about him being in the starting 11 anyway, are we? I mean, would you be happy throwing Jamal Lascelles in a cup game against Millwall? Like, would you have major concerns over that? Or do you think that, we'd be able to do a job, certainly against lower league opposition?
He might just do a job, but he might realise now he's not going to be a guaranteed starter. So he might know he needs to play well to stay in the team. And if he's going to play bad, he's going to be out of the team. And that's because in the past he was more or less guaranteed he was in the team. Yeah. Under Brucey, he was first name on the team sheet. Unfortunately, he was captain. He's playing no matter what. But now he was you've got Dan Burn, who was at the minute, hadn't put a foot wrong since he's been there, and and Cher, who's been playing alongside him, and he's on the team. You might realise that I need to play well, or I'm not going to get in the team. When he played, see when he come on, he had a good game. I thought yesterday, I'm not as much of a Lascelles fan, but for once I've got to give him credit. Him and Dan Burn played good. So it pains me to say that Lascelles played well, but you've got to give the lad credit.
Yeah. But it's right, Dan. Credit where credit's due. Yeah. We'll be quick enough to pull a player, but if he has a good game, you've got to go. Fair enough. Good game.
I agree with you, Darren. I thought he played well. I thought he was well organised. It's very clear. It's very clear that that Dan Burn organises that defence.
Yes.
So that everything's on Dan Burn's line. He gets Trippier. He gets Target up. And he has to remind Lascelles, and he tells him a few times, get up, and he has to move him up the pitch because he naturally drops deep. But because he's played with him a little bit more now, he's played with Dan Burn, he understands the position a little bit more because he's had games. So you could see that performance coming out. There was only one thing, and I don't know if you noticed this, but I know it happened 4 times during the game.
That's not great.
It happened 4 times in the game. It was the reaction of someone else that actually surprised me more than anything, that might be telling about how it moves forward. And I don't know if anyone in the chat noticed this as well, then please tell me. But there was I think there was twice in the first half, at least twice in the first half, where Jamal Lascelles gets given the ball by Dubravka, and Trippier's asking for the ball, because he's higher up the pitch, probably on the halfway line, saying, give him the ball feet, and he whips this ball long, and it's not a straight ball; it's a whipped ball, so it curls.
Out, went out.
And twice it goes out of play, and there was no need to play the ball. There was no pressure on the ball, nothing. He just plays this whipped ball to try and get someone in down the line that nobody's even making a run. So it was just a wasted ball. And he plays the ball twice. But what surprised me more than anything is Jason Tindall's reaction to it. He goes fucking mental, and he's going bang. He's going Jamal. He's going. He's literally pointing to the players and he's going mad at him, and he's literally he turns to Howe and he's going mad like every time he does. So every time he does it, he goes mad, and that really surprised me because I've not seen that before from Tindall.
I think Trippier had a word with him too. You know,
Trippier did. Trippier told him
after the second time he did it. Trippier had a word and pack it in simple balls because they played around the back, and then we did it. Trippier, I've seen Tindall went off it, but Trippier had a word with him. Because there was no need to play that sort of ball.
He can't do it though, can he? I think we've seen that, and the reason he doesn't do it is because he can't do it. So whether it's interesting though, Pete and Davin, you mentioning that because by the sounds of it, if Tindall's going nuts, then he wouldn't go nuts at him if he said, "Oh, try and do that ball," and if it didn't come off, you'd go. But it's interesting that he's attempting to do it himself. He must have been watching too many Fabian Schär videos.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
At half time, Tindall makes a beeline for Lascelles and he literally grips him like this as they're walking off the pitch. And he's going mad and he's pointing and he's telling him to do this. Like you see him as they're walking off the pitch and like Lascelles doesn't react to it. He's obviously just listening, but you can tell that they're not happy with what he's doing on the ball and giving the ball away needlessly. He then goes in the second half and does it another 2 times as well. And Tindall's going mad. He's going mad again. And he's literally the second half, he's kind of like him and Howe are next to each other. And Howe is just Howe. He's cool, calm. He doesn't react. He doesn't give anything away. Tindall's going mad and he's throwing things and he's turning to Howe and he's going, like he's literally arms out like this and he's going mad every time he does it. And I just thought it was really telling. It was really telling. He had a good performance, but the key areas like is obviously him on the ball. Yeah. Because that's the bit that lets him down, whereas Byrne and Schär are good at that. They're good at kind of recycling the ball and keeping it ticking over. Schär can play long balls. But he was just giving the ball back to Burnley, and it was during a period where they were trying to get up on the game. And yeah, I like I said, don't know if anyone else noticed it, but it was just really interesting from a Jason Tindall point of view. That they obviously demand a certain level of quality from their players, and regardless of whether he's the captain or not, they were willing to go mad at him. Sometimes you get teams where the captain's in there, that the captain can't do anything wrong. But the fact that they were willing to point him out and go mad at him and tell him what he was doing wrong, I thought it was more interesting. And so, good performance in terms of on the pitch, his defensive duties, but that area was questionable. But it's not even that. It's the Tindall reaction that made it kind of interesting to me.
Well, that's telling on 2 fronts then, Pete, because for any non-Lascelles fans, that will tell you a lot, wouldn't it? The fact that Lascelles has tried that on, as you say, four occasions, and Tindall's going mad at him. Obviously, Eddie Howe, as you say, probably won't respond, but he's considered, isn't he? So he's probably thinking to himself, yeah, you're right. And also, which I hadn't really taken into account until you just said it, if you're doing that to your captain, then obviously, are they looking and thinking, well, he's not going to be here next season, or he's not going to be captain next season? Because if that was, say, for example, let's argue and say that Kieran Trippier did that and he had the captain's armband on. Do you think that Tindall would react like that? Do you think Tindall would go at Kieran Trippier over that? I would argue he probably wouldn't. Or is that down to Lascelles' squad place? Is that down to is Tindall saying to Eddie Howe, that's why he doesn't play every week? That's why we need to replace him for stuff like that.
Because when Dan Byrne had the ball, he either played to, like, say, Sir Maximus, or he played the target, who would play up the wing. Where Lascelles was just hit it high and handsome, out of control. And that's the difference on the left side. You've got a player who's looking to pass the ball, and they've got Lascelles who are going to hire it along towards anybody. And you can see how Eddie Howe and Trent want to play the football, pass and move. take a touch and pass. I don't think Lascelles can do that. I don't think he's that type of player who I think he panics on the ball. He's slow on the ball when he gets to receive the ball. Because one time the first half, Pete, he got a little muddle, but then he got saved by Trippier, and Longstaff come to like a triangle pass, and they got themselves out of trouble. So
I agree, and I think Chris said it best when he said, you know, if Lascelles was to play against Millwall, something in the cup, would we be bothered by that? And the answer would be no. Is that he would actually play well, and I couldn't help but think watching him play, although he played well, that he in the Championship he would be a monster. He'd be unplayable in the Championship because of the style of football that is played in general in the Championship. It's very much high up in the air, you know, big, strong headers, big and strong in the tackle. He can do that, and he did that really well. And it's almost like it was. Do
you know that, Pete? Or
Tyndall? I've got no idea.
No.
Yeah.
Do you think the Cells will go back to Forest if they go?
Interesting. It wouldn't be. It's not the first time it's been mentioned as a possible destination. I certainly would welcome that if we got Brennan Johnson in return. That would be great. But look, if they got promoted, they'll be older their players. But I think, I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if he went back there.
Great comment from Yano. If you want Lascelles to pass the ball to a Newcastle player, you need to loan him to Burnley.
Yeah. Great stuff, Yano. Great stuff. Always good in the comments. Brilliant stuff. And you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And you know, it kind of. Oh no, I don't think it was him. I think it was someone else. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. But anything else from you, Darren? Anything?
I think it was a good last game from Sean Longstaff. I think he's played the last game. I do think he's played it well. That's him done at Newcastle. Good luck wherever he's go. And Hayden Days tweeted like 6 years at Newcastle.
Yeah, Hayden sounded like a goodbye, didn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. And Rich, I think Richie come on the day yesterday, to play his last 5 minutes with June.
I've seen that.
So there's 3 players at least who'll be going. Now you're not confirmed, but there'll be 3 players who'll definitely be going.
Yeah.
But I say what's end of season, so just watch your space, see what happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. I thought the Hayden comments were very interesting, Davin, because we saw, didn't we, when I think they did an interview with Hayden just as the owners took over, and he was quite bullish, wasn't he? You know, as in like, I'll decide when I go, I'll decide when I'm leaving. No one's forcing me out the club. And then he done like a little message at the end of the season. He was like, "Yeah, it's been great." Yeah, so I'm thinking, so someone's had a word with you then. And you know what? He's been a good servant, and I can't knock him. But in regard to the likes of Hayden, it's time to go. It's definitely time to go. I think, you know, the centre of the park. It's a big position. It's big shoes to fill, especially if the likes of, you know, Joe Linton and Bruno and Willock and Shelby and players like that. I don't think Hayden's of that standard, unfortunately. No. Not to say that he hasn't done a job, and he was a really good signing. He had a really good season in the Championship for us. Rafa brought him in, and he did a good job for us. But I think if we want to move to the next level, I don't think that includes Isaac Hayden, to be honest.
No, I totally agree with Chris, 100%. And like you could say yes when we lost Joe Linton. You'd see one of the areas where, like, again, he needs strength is midfield, because when you haven't got the cells in the team and in Willock, the 2 players missing, you've got to need cover in second midfield. So you definitely going to leave players there. But yes, it'll be interesting somehow who comes, who goes. A lot of spent. It'll be one of the best transfer winners in a long time, I think.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Yeah,
hopefully so.
So, really, lad, and now you got a load of people listening to watching. I like to say it. I've fully enjoyed every Monday talking to your voice, and it's been great. And I say it, and I'll see you when we come back.
Cheers, Dan.
Right, me back. Ta-ra, boys.
You take care.
Take care, mate. See you later.
Bye. I
think that's a good comment there from Andy. Pete. And I think it's something, we've all got to be cautious of. Andy says the whole squad's done amazing and contributed this year. Everyone, yes, some players split opinions, but the hammering of players is a bit tired for me. The weaker ones will get moved on in time. Andy, you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously, we've all got our different opinions, and we all share different views. But no, you're right. I mean, looking back over the whole season, and now obviously we're doing our last show of the season, you're absolutely right. Everybody's contributed this year, on and off the pitch, and I think it's a fair comment, to say that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I say, I don't think any player deserves to be hammered. The players that are put on the shirt the second half of the season because they've given everything for the club, and exactly what you said. The Haydens, the Lascelles, the likes of Mankilios, maybe, your Clarks, all the others, they'll be moved on. They'll be shipped out at some point, whether it's this summer or next summer, and we will have in the next 2 years a completely different, unrecognisable squad to look from. That's just the reality. Who's there and who's not will depend on, one, their performances, and two, who we're looking to get. And we'll be in the market for a lot of players. I think there'll be a huge pool of players that we'll be looking at. We will no doubt cover that over the course of the summer. Of course, there are plenty of other opportunities in the summer, like John Justice Allen's put on there. Enter to win the Shearer 260 ball on NUFCmatters.com. Get involved in that. If you haven't already, obviously on the other NUFC Matters shows, Steve does promote this. So if you haven't seen it, get involved and show your support.
Do you know what, Pete? Sorry, just to jump in. I was thinking, Davin's just wrote this comment, and I was thinking, how does he know we were going to do that? And then I thought he was in the green room when we were talking about it, wasn't he?
Come on, Davin.
Let the cat out the bag. Let the cat out the bag, Pete.
Do you want to mention it, Chris?
Yeah, go on then, right. So me and Pete were talking pre-show, and as you've probably all noticed, we'll take turns doing the running of the show. And we couldn't remember whose turn it was, whether it was my turn or Pete's turn. And then because it was the last show, we thought, you know what? Let's put a question out to the viewers and say, who would you like to do the adverts? So no pressure. Take your time. You might have a preference, you might not. No, Pete, no. To be honest, mate, you did a fantastic job the other week, and I think you hit the record, didn't you? You flew through it. And I know Peter, a big fan of you doing the ads. So, I don't want to, I want to give the viewers what they want. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, come on.
It's on the beats. Beat. Oh,
Tony's on my side.
Can we ask somebody? I might ask maybe Rachel or Julie if she's there, just to kind of keep a little tally, or maybe John Justice Allen. I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat, keep a little tally and let us know. We'll the phone lines are open, and maybe we'll shut them at 8:15. So 8:15. Whoever's got the most votes, someone let us know, and then we can deliver the adverts, whoever that may be. So you've got 9 minutes, guys, to vote.
Oh dear.
No pressure. Pete, are you ready for the next guest, or do you want to answer a couple of viewer questions, or what do you want to do?
If you want to do the questions at the end, let's get the guest on.
Cool. Let's do it.
Just because obviously they're huge supporters of the channel and they've been obviously waiting. So let's
Let's do it.
All right. So next guest on, absolute legend in the and been waiting. Oh, Yano, come on, man! For God's sake, you don't have to put it once. You don't have to put it 5 times. Jesus Christ, Billy Ace. Welcome in, Alan. How you doing, Alan?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Pete. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
It's been a fantastic week for the lads. The Arsenal performance was out of this world. Obviously, like you, Chris, I've just seen the highlights of the Burnley game, so I'm not a one for judging that. But I put it in the chat and to use, I've supported Newcastle now for 52 years, and I cannot remember a season split in half so differently. From being absolutely disastrous, the takeover happens, and it's only been 7 months. It seems like a lifetime, but 5 months later, we've finished 11th, quite incredible, really. Absolutely incredible. I mean, I remember the show against Wolves, Pete, Chris. We won the floor at Molineux. We won the floor. And then a few days later, the takeover happened. And we couldn't have been, every Newcastle fan around the world couldn't have been happier. Regarding the Arsenal game, it was a complete performance. It really was. I've been on the Arsenal podcast, Pete, and they're crying. They're literally crying. It's as if Newcastle United should never beat them. And they've beaten with 18 times out of 19 over the last 19 beatings. And so I was, bless him, I feel sorry for Robbie, one of the Arsenal fans podcast, who's a genuinely nice man. Yeah. But I did feel sorry for him. But he was gutted, and it was pleasing to see. It really was.
He'd been talking for quite a while now that he was convinced that they were going to get top four. Like, he was literally convincing everybody, and to then not just lose heavily to Tottenham in their derby, but then to get destroyed by us. We were dominant, and then really to go and hit Everton for 5. You know, that just for me, that makes it all the worse, is that they can go and hit Everton for 5 when the chance of them getting top 4 is out the window, but yet they couldn't put a performance in against Tottenham or us. But that was probably more down to us than them.
Sorry, Pete. I've got a habit of doing that. Sorry about that. But I was on the Tottenham podcast on the Monday night because I couldn't get a ticket, and they were ecstatic. They wanted us on their show, you know, because I'm constantly on their show giving comments, you know, and all was forgiven about Saudi ownership, and as well as Leeds, you know, I've never felt the love so much. They'll hate we probably next week, but between Leeds and Arsenal fans, the love between them has been brilliant. You made a great defence, Chris, about the pitch invasion, the Everton fans and the emotion. And I know Richie, where some of the Everton fan that sometimes comes on, made it was all emotion. But I'm with Pete, because I was at the 1974 Cup quarter-final at Forest, and we invaded the pitch, and we had to have 2 replays to get to the semi-final, because obviously the game was stopped for only 10-15 minutes because of the pitch invasion, and I was there, and it's still one of the best games I've ever seen in my life, because we came back to win the game 4-3. It's when you make it emotional, Chris, you know, like if you're getting beat, would it be all right if you got beat? Say Everton had got beat that game, and all the fans had run on at the end complaining about the ownership. You know, they could say, right, we could be going down here. Would it been all right then? It's simple as that. No fans should be allowed on the pitch. I made a comment before about both teams it should be in the summer where the Premier League, and there was another comment, it won't happen, but the Premier League should make it law that every club understands that points from both teams will be deducted, and that's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the first one is, the reason why I say it, both teams, is the home team should have the amount of stewards or police that was getting away with, because they couldn't afford it. After the 80s and 90s, they couldn't afford police protection. So they have these stewards that, would you stop hundreds of fans if you were going to get hit or hurt on the edge of a pitch? If you're only getting, say, minimum amount of wage, it doesn't happen like that, lads. If you've got 100, it's just the players' safety is involved in all this. It's just the fact that it sounds romantic, Chris, and I know I couldn't say that I wouldn't have been on the pitch in 74. I wasn't, but I could imagine I would have went on the pitch, and if you won the title, say, the urge to join in is immense. But I'm afraid the pitch is for the footballers, and the stands in the stadium is for fans. And I know it's emotional, but it's that dividing line, because this is how
there's got to be a line. There's got to be a line. I agree with that.
Started, Chris, in the 80s. Maybe it's too young for yous, but Millwall were doing it, and it led to violence. And then every fan will go, well, that's the norm. If they can do it, well, why can't we? You know, it just snowballs, and then the fences come up, and then obviously the tragedies happened. And that's why we reverted to all-seater stadiums. I know I heard of Mick Lowe's as conspiracy theory that the authorities are doing this so to try and stop all standing stadiums again. His theory was maybe the establishments are allowing this to happen. I don't agree with that point, but everybody has got conspiracy theories that this is a way of stopping standing in stadiums and going forward in the future. So that's my take on that, Chris. I understand where you're coming from, and your son's got that, but why doesn't he go to Everton, phone them up and say, can I be on the pitch and get my photograph taken?
No, do you know what, Alan, the point you've raised, and obviously,
I know it's hard for you, Chris, because you're in both camps.
But no, I get it. I do get it. And like I say, if somebody said to me, you can either do that, but risk that, or you do that and it's safe, obviously, you'd always pick the safe one. And, thinking about it more, now we've kind of had time to discuss it. If something would have happened to my son, I'd have felt a lot differently about it, wouldn't I? So it's one of those, and I do completely get it. I just think, I just saw his little face, after the game and that, and he was buzzing and made up, and thankfully he was safe and not, nothing happened. But and like I say, I've been in situations, where I've been absolutely overjoyed and stuff like that, and I can understand it. But yeah, going forward, and especially with all these stupid acts that people are doing, it's never going to work, is it? It's something that needs to be nipped in the bud. So I do agree with that.
I definitely think that should be nipped in the bud, lads. All credit, Darren and Tony said it, to the owners. Fantastic, and I'm so pleased for them. Going forward, things are looking bright. I do get the impression, lads, that we may be disappointed at how many players we're actually getting this summer. I think Eddie Howe's laying down the front line. He's trying to be cagey about how many players we will get. I think we'll only get maybe 4 or 5 because he wants to keep that spirit and that core. The likes of Captain Calamity, like yourselves, who I want to get rid of. I think he might keep them, I think it'll be the likes of Richie, Hayden, Fernandez, Henriks, people like that, fringe players that aren't playing. But I think players like yourselves might have another year in them. And people like that, I think maybe people think it's going to be a great, washout where everybody goes. You've got to keep that unity like Man City and Liverpool have got. And I think that's what he's trying to do, where they will all go eventually, but it'll take time. I think it'll take a lot, by not more time, but maybe 3 or 4 years to get a full squad that can compete with Liverpool and Man City, because that's what I want eventually, lads. It's small steps. I would like to be in the top 8 next season. I don't know about yous, but I don't think there's that much difference between Wolves, West Ham and ourselves and Leicester. If we keep on saying it week after week, good recruitment.
Yeah.
Really good recruitment. That's what it's all about.
I agree, mate.
Getting the right characters. Really is. That's the key to it all. But no, I'm absolutely over the moon. I cannot say highly of the players. And it was a great comment before. There's no need to, batter the players now. And even the players that have gone, Hayden, Richie, Fernandez, they've served well. And even yourselves, even though, he's my favourite person I pick on, it served well, lads, so give them all the credit due to them. But it just ain't good enough, at this present time to move forward. Basically, Joe Linton, cannot believe the turnaround. Player of the season, who would have thought that? And I know it hasn't been mentioned much, lads, but with us beating Burnley yesterday, that was our first double of the whole season. And tell us if I'm wrong, Keith Rowe, but I think we've never gone a season without doing a double on somebody. And so that was our last chance to do a double yesterday on somebody. So
wow,
we beat Burnley home and away, and it hasn't been picked up on.
Interesting,
so, yeah. Well, I think we'd always done a double over somebody,
Yeah.
But that was going to be, if we hadn't have won yesterday, I think that was going to be our first ever season
Double.
that would, hadn't done a double over somebody. But Keith maybe tell us more, the stat man, maybe put us right on that one. But no, looking forward to the summer. I hope Eddie has a break now, a couple of weeks, and then full throttle. I'll miss the first week or so of the season, lads, because I hadn't remembered that the season starts on August the 1st. So I'm away. So I'll miss the first couple of shows, lads. So I'm gutted about that for next season. But hopefully we'll start off well. As far as signings are concerned, lads, I haven't a clue. To be honest, I haven't a clue where to start because, like Kamal said earlier in the show, it'll be the silly season. We'll be after everybody. And we'll have disappointments, lads. Not every player wants to come to Newcastle. Like this lad that apparently he's gone to Aston Villa. So be it. That's what it'll be, like all the time.
Do you know what, Alan? Just to pick up on that, and I'm gonna have to read my messages actually because one of my mates, who's a blue, he's messaged me over Tarkowski, and funnily enough, somebody I mentioned it earlier in the chat, I think, a bit further on, and Boubacar Kamara. So he's joined Aston Villa, as you've just mentioned. Whether or not we were in for him, we'll never really know, will we? But I bet you he's going to be on a significant wage, and it's interesting because the Tarkowski rumor, which I know some of the people in the chat were talking about, saying he's getting 120 grand a week, and it's like really, like and as the the owners of the club, we know we've got money, we know that we can afford to pay these wages, but it's got to be on the right people, it's got to be on the right players, and it wouldn't surprise me now if that rumor's true that Tarkowski ends up at Everton, and if he does, good luck to him. Because you can't turn down 120 grand a week, but there's no way on this earth that we're going to pay James Tarkowski 120 grand a week. No way. And anyone who does is silly.
And don't forget, Chris, that Man United have got the highest wage bill in the Premier League, and look at where they are. It doesn't count on what players get. And
this is the problem that Everton have got now, Alan, because they've only just got rid of the likes of Balassi, they've got Gylfi Sigurdsson, they've got Alex Iwobi, they've got name probably a few more players, and they're all on silly wages. They shouldn't Balassi was on 120 grand a week, and they signed him like 6 years ago.
Well,
how's he on that?
I heard a couple of months ago, Chris, when they were talking about what the implications were if Everton got relegated, and that the six highest wage earners, and the average wage of every Everton player was £85,000 a week. Now, if they'd got relegated, Chris,
if they had another Jack Rodwell on the vans, and players we saw what Jack Rodwell did at Sunderland's, and he was like, I'm not going anywhere, I'll just stay here. He couldn't get rid of him. Because he's not going to get those wages elsewhere. If Everton go down, who's going to pay? I don't know. Like we said before, who's going to pay Alex Iwobi 90 grand a week or whatever he's on? No one.
Let's face it, Chris. Pete, we've had the same problem with some of our players. Jack Colbert was in the reserves for 2 years.
Prime example.
Couldn't get rid of him. Dwight Gale. Well, we all talk about Dwight Gale going. He had another cameo role again against Arsenal, but he got a 3-year deal, I think, just before the takeover happened.
60 grand a week, something like that.
Will he want to go? Will he be able to? He might not be in the top, the squad of 25 players, but he's right to just say, I'll train with the players and be here for another 2 years and say bye-bye. This is the danger when, quite rightly, Chris, you just highlighted about Tarkowski getting 120. You've got to end up with players that are hungry and the right characters, because you could end up with 25 players on 100 grand a week if Man United have found out, and they don't give a damn. So it's that fine line of having hungry players and wanting to win, and getting ripped off. So I'm with the club on that. So on players, we've got to be very, very careful who we get, and it's the mentality. And I want to see hungry players, and not always, the star names. Them will come eventually later, But needless to say, lads, I'll get myself away because Pete's got to do the adverts.
It's looking that way, innit? Alan, there was a few shouts for you, mate. They really will. So Alan, you nearly ended up doing it, mate.
Well, I talk people to sleep. That's what I've been told. So, but anyway, but I'm over the moon, lads. It's a final forum for the season. I wish everybody well in the chat. Darren, Tony, Jeff. I haven't seen him for a few weeks. I hope he's well. So I hope everybody, basically, as well. Everybody like Julie and Rachel always comments. They want to get on the show. More
Definitely,
people that are on the show, different views. Yano has been great. Sometimes I agree with him, sometimes I don't. Some great comments, but I'm glad we agree on the Captain Calamity, Lascelles. He's got to go. It's as simple as that. But it's had a good game. Don't get us wrong, Pete. You were there, but but it's again where I judge defenders, Pete, is when you play the top 6 teams. And if you have a shutout against Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, that's when I think we've got a decent defender on our hands.
Yeah.
But Trippier, my tip for next year, Trippier captain, lads. Trippier captain. But I'll leave the options open for signings, lads, because, we'll go on about this Botman, but I honestly, like Bruno, I don't know him, Pete. Chris, I don't know. I've never seen him, so I can't judge him. But everybody raves about him coming, or wanting to come, or trying to get him. But I don't know how good he is. So I'll leave it in the capable hands of yourselves, lads. And I know there'll be people waiting. So all the best, lads.
Take care, Alan. Thanks for coming on, mate.
For a couple of weeks and then getting back, ready for the new season.
Definitely.
But,
definitely.
Aiming for top 8, lads, and a good cup run.
Yeah. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Try not to be too greedy, too soon. Crawl before we can walk. Keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed listening to your points over the course of the season. Always great to have.
Could chat us midday, lads, but I know that the lads want to get on.
Yeah, really appreciate it though. And like I say, it's been a pleasure. Really made some great points, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come. No doubt about it.
I'll have a pitch invasion next year, Chris. If everything get relegated, I'll dive on the pitch then. See you later. Take care, lads.
Take care, Alan. See you later, mate. See you later.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Brilliant stuff. Dear.
Some of these comments are funny, aren't they?
You know what? The comments tonight have been absolutely
great.
On point.
Great.
You guys are something else. You really are. And it just goes to show, like, all the support, whether it's been serious topics like Newcastle, whether it's been players, transfers, or just absolute jokes. Like it's great to have all of your opinions on there, and it just keeps adding in. Don't vote me and then say sorry in brackets. You're not sorry. If you're sorry, you'd have voted Chris. You voted me. Don't say you're sorry in
because you're the best, Pete. You're the best at it, and I'm pleased you're doing it, and it's right that you're doing it.
Oh dear, right. Let's get.
Hey, and by the way, Gareth Varty from Spider. Well, it was formerly Spider VPN. Spider Minor.
Yeah.
He's one of the sponsors, and he said, "I want Pete. I want Pete." So, listen, we've got to listen to the public. I won't take offence. It's fine, but the right man for the job.
Look, can't say it's a punishment. We've got some fantastic sponsors, and we appreciate them all. So, absolutely. They're all an absolute pleasure. But for the last time this season, let's take a deep breath.
I might put. You know what? I'm gonna do what everyone else does. I'm gonna put my stop clock on.
No.
So as soon as you go, I'll count you in, Pete. Okay.
Go on then.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, into the sponsors. So massive thanks to Spider Miner, worldwide coverage from the lads. The only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different currencies at the same time, whilst using virtually no energy. VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.com. So give them a shout. And thank you for your support in the chat tonight with me doing these sponsors. We have skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 2545 253, email inquiries@skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, pay as you go. Waste collection. Sir Bobby will support you, no doubt. We've got L&G Family Funerals Directors. Give these guys your support. 0191 389 7245. We've also got Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists. Contact them at www.thegohd.com. The main man's in the chat, John Justice Allen. Give all your support to John at qtechshop.co.uk for all your pool table and snooker table queries and interests in Wallsend, Newcastle. He is the man to go to, so get involved there. We have Klikai. Massive thanks to the new sponsor. Meet the new game over screen. Drop into a Klikai device near you on Google Play, Apple Store, and Klikai Kleerun is the one. Kleerun.game. Massive support from the media side of things, from Media Arts. Thank you for all that you've done this season with us. And of course, we have Newcastle Legends. So if you haven't yet, click the like. Lots of you have clicked the comments and share the show to everybody else. And of course, click that subscribe button. We are moving ever closer to that 50k subscribers. If you haven't watched it live, we've got the option of watching it on iTunes and Spotify. 24 hours it normally takes to transfer on to either of these platforms. So get involved there. And of course, if you want to become a member, scan to become a part of the membership and get your membership pack. And this is what you could be getting as part of a membership. Become a member of the cult. Fantastic gifts as part of becoming a member that are available. And of course, if you subscribe to the show and receive a free car window sticker from NUFC Matters, and if you haven't already, and you won't now for the rest of the season, but of course, we have Malcolm McDonald at the Dog and Parrot, and I'm sure he'll be back supporting next season. And as well, although you can always contribute to the NUFC Fans Food Bank, the match day book. It's not necessarily available now the season's finished, but you can still contribute to NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk. Please do not forget about that. And of course, John Justice Allen mentioned that tonight the 260 dinner and Shearer football is still available. So make sure that you are showing your support for that too. That is the sponsors for the season done.
Boom.
So massive thanks to everybody for voting me. We've got 4 minutes, 4 seconds on there. I hope everyone's is the same.
Record, that, Pete.
Surely that's got to be a record.
Surely.
But yeah, thanks for all of the sponsor support over the course of the season, with regards not just to the Fans Forum, but every show that Steve puts together. You're a massive support, and it's all appreciated. Although we kind of, we make it into a bit of a feature in this show, we do always support every single sponsor that does everything for the channel. And thank you all for you voting me. Yeah, don't worry. I've marked all your cards. Everyone that voted for Pete, you all put down on the list.
I'd like to say a thank you to him as well. Yeah, I'd like to say a thank you as well, Pete.
But yeah, definitely massive thanks. And look, it wouldn't be the same without having our last caller of the evening, without having a fantastic guest and speaker all the way from the States, patiently waited for us and is now coming on. So welcome, Jimmy. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, mate.
Not too bad. You need to take a deep breath after doing those sponsors, but yeah, other than that, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it's 4 minutes I'm never going to get back.
All for a good cause, though. All for a good cause.
All for a good cause.
Talk to us, Jimmy. How happy
Well,
are you with this season, mate?
well, of course. Finishing the way we did, and I could have never imagined that. So, with that being said, I'm incredibly happy. But this season was especially enjoyable for me because I I got to meet a lot of nice people. As you know, I came on, I guess, the fans forum a few months ago, and at the time, my Twitter was at like 86 people, and those are basically people I knew from the media over here, and since then it's up to 2,100 Geordies, and I get to talk every day about Newcastle. And before that, it was like finding somebody to talk about Newcastle was impossible. I mean, they weren't they weren't around here. It was like probably easier to find a Everton fan with a full set of teeth than finding a Newcastle fan over here. And I'm just so grateful to everybody that reached out to me and made this season uh, even more enjoyable than I could ever imagine. I mean, I got a lot of free pipes coming my way when I make it to Newcastle.
Definitely. And you know what, Jimmy, you deserve it because you've been a fantastic supporter of the club, of the channel. I echo your thoughts in that. It's been an amazing adventure for us as Newcastle fans over the course of this year. We've had every single emotion that you can think of over the course of this season. I just go back to that October weekend. Was it October the 3rd? When we played Wolves away, and that was the lowest I've probably ever felt as a Newcastle fan. I think everyone agrees with that. Yeah. And then it became very quickly the best week I probably had as a Newcastle fan, knowing that we had new owners. And, regardless of the results, even up until the great run that we had, it was just party time. We were just happy that we knew the club was going in the right direction. So, sentiments are there. But looking at the game yesterday, Jimmy, I'm assuming you managed to catch the game over in the States.
Oh, yeah.
What were your thoughts of the overall performance? Who kind of stood out for you?
Wilson. It just, for me, I would have loved to see what we could have done had he been healthy for an entire season. I mean, Dan Burn, to me, is right up there with Bruno as the steal of the transfer window. It's just, we play attractive football now, which you could never say under Bruce. I mean, one-touch passes, giving goods. I mean, it's just precision football, and it's beautiful to watch. And I mean, it's the last game of the season. We have nothing to play for, no pressure, and we still went out and did our business. A professional performance, nothing over the top. I mean, nothing you could say too great. I mean, just a nice on the road at a tough place to play and getting the job done. The one thing that stood out to me in the match was I feared for Miggy's life when Wilson was when Miggy took that shot. I thought Wilson was going to kill him. I feared for his life.
He was pissed.
I'm like, kid, you got a one-way trip back to the MLS.
It definitely seemed like that. He was so frustrated. And to be fair, I don't know if any of you noticed when there was a fantastic football down the left, and Bruno was put in, and all he had to do was cut it back to Wilson there, and he slipped at the last minute. And like, even though he did, Wilson did exactly the same. He went absolutely mental. He was so annoyed, and then all of a sudden, just realised, he slipped. He couldn't do anything about it, and then kind of ushered him on.
I'm losing my patience with these players that insist on wearing molded cleats. Stop it. I mean, the pitches are in too good a condition for you to be slipping all over the place. Wear the screw-ins. I mean, Nike products are crap anyway, as far as I'm concerned. But their shoes, I mean, guys, let's get the screw-ins back in.
Yeah, a lot of people wear moldy now, don't they?
How many goals have we missed out on this year? People falling, slipping into the mouth.
It's true. It's true.
But like I said, I'd like to thank Steve and you guys for letting me come on, be a part of this. And I hate that this is the last one. I guess I'll go on garden leave. And are you guys planning to keep something like this going over the summer, or unload it, or?
We've got a lot of shows coming up on Loaded, Jimmy. A lot of fully loaded transfer shows planned in, as far as I'm aware. And we're going to be off for a period from NUFC Matters, but you will still be able to see our faces, whether you like that or not, on the loaded shows. So we're really looking forward to keeping you all entertained during the summer, because there's going to be lots of conversations to be had, lots of rumours, lots of discussions. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Jimmy, I had a quick question for you actually, and Pete, jump in here whenever you want. But somebody in the chat mentioned that they wanted to know where your connection with Newcastle came from. Now, you may have mentioned it before and I've forgotten, but I'm not sure we ever got that from you. So why Newcastle, Jimmy?
Back in 1996, my college roommate was from Newcastle. And we're both playing soccer at the time. And he got me hooked. Plus, I fell in love with the whole kid at that time. And I'd go to the library on campus and steal their 442s, and that's how we keep up and everything. And over the years, we've just maintained that. But yeah, I didn't have a foreign team that I pulled for at the time, and so we drank a lot of brown ale, and he turned me on to him.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
And you've been stuck with us ever since, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Once you're black and white, that's it then, isn't it? You're done. That's it.
Yeah. I don't like to jump around. The bandwagon and stuff, and so
Yeah.
Through thick and thin. So
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny that, Jimmy, because I'm very as soon as the takeover went through, obviously I was absolutely delighted, and I was really excited as well. But then I was thinking to myself, do you know what? I'm gonna over the next few years, I'm gonna have so many people whenever I go anywhere, or even if I'm in and around where I live in Liverpool. As soon as I say, oh, who support? Oh, I support Newcastle. I know people are gonna go, that old chestnut because they're rich. But so I'll need to maybe
yeah,
get a T-shirt that says, supported Newcastle when we were shit. I don't know. I might have to start doing that, Jimmy, because I think a lot of people now, we're going to get a lot of fans who, especially young fans, which is great. We're going to get a lot of fans, aren't we, who start to support Newcastle because they think that we're going to win things, and that's absolutely fine. But it's nice to remember that some of us have been there during the darker days, like ourselves, Jimmy.
Oh God. I mean, I can still see my senior high school picture, and I had a Steve Grogan New England Patriot jersey, and I'm like, one day it's all going to come full circle, and that worked out pretty good. So I'm it might take a while. Hopefully, this ride leads me to the same spot. And by the way, congratulations on your new job at Mary Kay.
Oh, at where?
That I sent a little transfer news to the loaded thing yesterday. I had you driving around Liverpool.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember
yeah.
it now. Yeah. In the pink Cadillac.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah, that cheered me up. That Jimmy would have seen that.
Great stuff. Brilliant.
Well, thank you guys for letting me be a part of all this, and
Thank
all
you for
you
coming on, Jimmy.
great people in the chat.
Yeah, hopefully you see all the comments. I mean, we try and flash them up on screen as you're on, but it's just nothing but love in the comments, Jimmy. Nothing but love. Everyone absolutely adores you, mate, and the show wouldn't be the same without you. And we love you coming on every week, and we love looking at your background and being jealous. We love it.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
Chris, what have you done now?
I know. As soon as I mention the background, that's it.
All of a sudden it goes off.
I know.
Oh man! But no, just hopefully while Jimmy's connection maybe comes back on. Jimmy's is a great guy, and
absolutely,
he's been a massive supporter of us personally, as well as Steve's channel, and obviously Loaded as well. And all the way from the States, he tunes into every show. He's always in the comments. He's always tagging us in on things, and we really, really do appreciate it. It means a lot. And obviously, like you just mentioned, Chris, the support that he has from everyone in the chat has been amazing. Absolutely fantastic. So, he's gone off now. That might be it. He might not be able to pop back on. But we'll see. But just really quickly, Rachel said, can take a moment to remember those in the NUFC family, NUFC Matters family that we lost this season. Yeah, obviously there was a mention of Dave Harrison in the chat. Obviously, great support of the channel, and also obviously Chris A, who was a regular on the show. Massive support from those two. So Rachel, thank you for bringing that up. Really, really, a good point to remember. And like you said, Chris was part of the furniture on the fans forum, regularly, always on the chat, regularly, always coming on the show, always badgering me every Monday around 6 o'clock for the link. And he just loved talking about Newcastle United, just like the rest of us, like Jimmy, like Alan, like Darren, like Tony, all the guys and girls in the chat. He was just one of us, and Dave Harrison as well. Lived and breathed Newcastle United. Massive supporter of the food bank. There every game, every match day. We had the pleasure of meeting him at the Matters party back in November. Very, very short period we met him, but managed to get to meet him finally and have that conversation. So big shout out for both, and obviously Yano as well with Dave Harrison. So great stuff, Rachel. Thank you for that. And it's always important that every season remember those that we've lost, unfortunately, over the course of the season, and haven't seen what Newcastle have produced. That's the saddest thing about it, is that they've seen us through our worst period and then didn't get to see us in our best, but they're always in our thoughts, and everything's obviously done for them. No doubt about it. We're into now the question phase. So lots and lots of questions put in the chat. I'll come with this one with you. To you, Chris.
Go on, mate. Go for it.
We Are United has put, now Leeds are staying up. Is Phillips now out the window of a potential signing?
Do you know what's a really interesting one, that, isn't it? Because I feel like he might be, because there was talk of a 25 million release clause, which is an absolute snip, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that now. And I think, Pete, it's fair to say, if you're talking 50 or 60 million, which is probably more around the figure Leeds would want, I would imagine. Is that too much for Calvin Phillips? I'd suggest it probably would be. Not to say I don't like him, not to say that I don't think he's a fantastic player with a big future ahead of him, but I'm thinking injuries, and I'm thinking value for money. So we all know, don't we, if you go in the European market or across the continent, you can pick up players who maybe are a bit better value for money, and maybe the owners will be thinking that. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't think he'll leave. I don't think he'll leave Leeds. He's a Leeds boy. They're still playing Premier League football.
Yeah, they are.
I think he'll probably give it one more year.
And he got in the England squad, didn't he? Playing for Leeds, so there's no excuse to say, I want to go and play for England, because he's getting picked for England anyway, Pete. So
I just think he won't want to rock the boat before a World Cup. He could move to a team like Man United. They have a horrific start to the season. He plays poor and not in the team. And then all of a sudden his England hopes are out the window. At least with Leeds, he'll play every week, guaranteed starter, and go to a World Cup, which is what he's going to want more than anything. I think he'll probably give it one more year. And then after the World Cup and everything's finished, he'll probably look at it then, if Leeds are struggling and only just making sort of, or fighting in the relegation again, I think he'll probably be then asked to leave. I think it will be better place possibly to get him next year. And let's face it, next year, the likes of John Joe Shelby's contract runs out. It makes sense to get someone like John Joe Shelby out on a free, and then replace him with someone like Phillips that can take us forward. Or we go for another option completely, and he's not one of those options. But I do think that Eddie Howe will be looking at British-based players, I think. So that would be a possibility.
Yeah. Do you know what, Pete? I like the way you've jumped in here, because you can see we've got our star comments. So on the top of the chat, you've got live and stars. I reckon we go either or and ask each other a question. So I'm gonna jump in at this point, Pete, and I'm gonna ask from life goals. Pete, do you prefer Ant or Dech?
Oh God, both legends. Hard to choose. I think I'll go Ant, just because I think he's probably a little bit funnier. They're both really funny, but I think he probably has a few more jokes that makes me laugh more. What about you?
Do you know what? I was thinking the same. I'd probably go Ant, and we all know. Well, shit, I better not say that. Because it would come out wrong, and I don't mean it like that. But I was going to say we know he's a bit of a lad. But that's not to condone what he did, by the way, in case anyone thinks that's what I'm saying. I'm not. I just think I don't know. He seems like a bit more of a joker, bit more of a. I think if you went on a night out with them, I think Deck would be a bit more polished. Whereas Ant, I don't know. I get the impression he's you'd have a bit more of a laugh, a bit like you said, Pete. I think you'd have a bit more of a laugh with him. But both top fellas, and I absolutely love seeing them at the game. I think it's great. I think it's great they both get involved. And clearly they've struck up a very good relationship with the owners, haven't they, Pete? Because we see them with the owners, and I think it's fantastic, that they're there at the game every week, and they're enjoying this journey as much as we are. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Right, hold on. I'll just look at the comments. Hold on a second. Nah, I'm not having this one.
Some of these I won't know the answer to either, so I might have to back it back to you if you ask me. I suppose some of them are more of opinion, aren't they?
Life Goals has put. I'll put this question to you, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, do you think keep Lascelles, dump Fede Fernandez and Clark, and add one new centre back? Interesting. What you think?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because I kind of included Paul Dummett as a centre back as well. I know predominantly we've played him left back, but he can play in the left side of a three. So I thought Paul Dummett was going to go, and now obviously he's not going. You think the days are numbered for the likes of Fede and Clark. I'm still unsure whether I'd keep Fede over Lascelles. I know we've said Lascelles had a good couple of games. I don't know what it is about Federico Fernandez. I just think he's been such a good sign and he's such a professional. But there is issues behind closed doors, isn't there? And something's not quite right with him. And I hope everything's okay with him. But to me, as much as I like him, it looks like he's probably on his way out. So I think Life Goals are spot on. I think we'll keep Lascelles for a little bit longer, and I think Federico Fernandez and Kieran Clark will be gone. That's just a gut feeling. I mean, I don't know if you agree with that, Pete.
Yeah, I think they'll all go. Certainly for Fernandez and Clark. Obviously, Lascelles, I think it depends on who we get in. And the interesting thing is, Howe said he's going to talk to each player in the summer. And I think he's going to, I think at that point, he's going to maybe say some things to players that they might not want to hear. So if he turns around to Lascelles and says, you're not going to play every week, I think it'll get to the point where they then they'll turn around and say, well maybe I need to leave then.
Yeah, so, could be. It's interesting you're saying that, actually, Pete, that he said I didn't know he'd said he'd speak to the individual players, one by one, because I imagine the conversation with Fernandez and Clark will be, you're not involved. With Lascelles, you're absolutely right. I think he will say, I'd like you here, but you're going to be playing sparingly. And by the sounds of it, he's already had that conversation with John Joe Shelby, and John Joe Shelby's turned around and said, well, I need to go then.
Yeah, I agree. So I think is it your turn for the question?
Yes, sorry, it's me to ask you, isn't it? Sorry, Pete. Let's see. Yeah, now I had to do a double take on this because I was thinking, no way would Pete have said that. And then when I read it, I was like, oh no, Pete hasn't said that. Pete was just on the show. So Leon said, what do you think about Pepe from Arsenal for right winger? And as soon as I read that first line, I was like, wow. And then I seen a flop there. But when Pete did the away days, and I was like, oh my God, Pete said he's great. But then it says, when Pete did the away days, the guest mentions that he's good, just not fancied by Arteta. I mean, is Pepe someone that you would even consider, Pete? Me personally, I'd say no, but what are your thoughts?
Not for me.
No. For me. I'm so glad you said that.
It's been talked about that he wants to leave, but not for me. No. I don't think he's a player that we look at, if I'm honest. So therefore, we've got better players that we look at and be the ones to kind of take us forward. We've got young, hungry players that we're linked to that could really make the difference. So for me, I just think that we're in a position where we make the difference elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. I think that's fair. Imagine the wages he's on as well, Pete.
Oh yeah, huge
Jesus, no.
crazy. I think
72 million they pay for him. I mean, Jesus Christ! I reckon if you offered them 20 million, they'd slap your hand off. They'd be made up with 20 million.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. So another question. Hold on a second. Strange question here. What are your thoughts on possibly Hamza Chowdhury signing for Newcastle on a free? Would you take him? Don't know about that.
Yeah, I've got to admit, Keith. I know that his name was linked again, but I do think he's one of those where that ship has sailed. I think under the previous regime, Ashley trying to, keep things to a low budget.
Yeah.
For me, I would probably put Hamza Chowdhury in the same category as Isaac Hayden. I think he's probably a player who could do a job, but maybe more so for a lower Premier League club. How nice does that sound to say that? If you want to aspire to be top 8, top 7, top 6, top 5, whatever, I don't think Hamza Chowdhury's in that squad. And the fact that he struggles to get a game at Leicester more than backs that up for me. So unless he was brought in to be a squad player in replacement of Isaac Hayden, then I'd say no. And I couldn't even see Hamza Chowdhury getting anywhere near the bench, let alone the starting 11.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think the only way he's going is down. Unfortunately, I think he'll go down into the Championship. That's just my opinion. I think that's who that's where he'll go. That's just my opinion.
Yep. One for you, Pete, which I saw, and obviously only you could answer this one. Emmett Griffin says, Pete, as you were at the game, what did you think of Tarkowski?
Good question. I actually thought he had a decent game, to be fair. I thought he had a decent game, was decent, played well. Obviously playing in a weaker side. He had a good battle with Wilson, gave as good as he got. I just think that he is in a position where he was coming up against a team that was too strong for him, and actually a lot of the goals didn't come really from him. There wasn't really too much more he could do. So I thought he played well. Look, he's been linked with other teams. Leicester, I think, are coming for him. I think it was talked about Villa earlier. Leicester coming for him. He's going to have options, and we're not going to play the game where we're kind of looking to outbid other people. So that's just my opinion.
Okay. Let's see, what have we got now? Oh, sorry, you've got to ask me one, haven't you? Sorry, Pete.
Yeah. Come on, next 1 second. Hold on a second.
There's a couple of meaty ones in there.
Yeah, there is, definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, Gareth Bale coming in as a pay-as-you player, but the contacts who are convinced it's a done deal, although Cardiff surprisingly an alternative option for him.
Yeah, so I know the Three Amigos and Stu Penman, I know they've mentioned Gareth Bale in the past. It wouldn't surprise me because obviously he's I think his time at Madrid's up. I think he'd be the first to say that. Would I take him on a pay-as-you-play? Yes, I would. On a pay-as-you-play, I would. I think, he's still got the quality. He's still a top-level player, and he is but I mean, even when he came back to Spurs on loan, you could see there was glimpses where you were like, wow, this is Gareth Bale kind of thing. So I think I would take him on a pay-as-you-play, but if someone said, 3-year deal, 200 grand a week, absolutely not. I know, on this channel in particular, as I say, the Three Amigos, they've spoken a lot about a marquee signing, and he would be that marquee signing. He's a big name player, so it wouldn't surprise me if we got Gareth Bale. But what would surprise me is if he particularly fancied it. Like I know Life Goals mentions Cardiff. That wouldn't surprise me at all because he is a Welsh boy through and through, isn't he? So for him to go back down to being around his family and stuff like that, maybe that move would work out better for him. But perhaps because they're in the Championship, I don't know whether he'd want to step down to the Championship because I think he is still good enough to play in the Premier League. But on a pay-as-you-play, yeah, I'd take him. But I mean, what would you do, Pete? Would you take Gareth Bale?
I'm not convinced. And I just think it's the attitude with Gareth Bale. It's the attitude and the motivation that I've got massive question marks. I just think that for me, I just think he's had his best days. I just don't think he'll be playing his football at the top level anymore. And I think ultimately he would be a great name for Newcastle United. But for me, we need to be looking at not just the names that are up there right now, but we need to be making the next names of top level players. Just my opinion.
Yeah. No, and you know what? To be fair, it's not that I disagree with it because I totally see your point. It's about bringing in new stars, isn't it, rather than a star who maybe is past his best. Which, to be fair, some people would say, and I wouldn't disagree with that. Right, next question.
We'll do last couple.
Yeah. Let's see. We kind of touched on that already. This is an interesting one from Life Goals. Pete, would you prefer Lodi or Target?
It's easy to see why Target would be the preferred choice because he's already played well at Newcastle. He's had a good run. Lodi is probably a more talented player and is a player that you could see taking us through for the next kind of, however many years. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
You could argue that we could sign both and get rid of Lewis and move him on. There's an argument of that, but would Matty Target want to come back, being a player fighting for a position as a left back, as an understudy? Because ultimately, if you're signing Lodi from Atletico Madrid, he's not going to come sit on the bench. He's going to come to play. But it's a tough one. I think long term, I'd probably go Lodi. If I'm honest. If you're thinking long term, what about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think both talented players. Lodi's probably got the edge. Obviously played with Trippier at Atletico. From what I've seen of I don't watch Atletico week in, week out, obviously, but he seems a top level player. And I think he's someone who would probably up it a notch. But that's not to say that I wouldn't be happy with Matty Target because I absolutely would. To be fair to him, I think he probably deserves a permanent deal. Based on how he's performed this season for us. So I wouldn't be disappointed with either, Pete, but if you force me to pick one or the other, I'd probably say Lodi. Right. I don't know the answer to this, Pete, so apologies if you don't either, but when will we find out who the manager of the season is? When will that be announced? I personally don't know the answer to this.
I think there's some sort of awards evening. I imagine it'll be over the next couple of weeks. I don't think they'll leave it any longer than that. But there is normally some sort of awards evening. Maybe it's within the next week. I don't know. But they have the awards evening where they sort of announce it, and LMA Managers Awards, I think, take place. So I imagine that'll be pretty soon. I think we'll know quite soon what the situation is.
Yeah.
And look, let's go for the last one. Let's go for the last one. Newcastle United still in for Reims. Striker Hugo Ekitike would cost around 30 million. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I think it was you, Pete, who posted it on our loaded chat. You were saying, this is the goal he scored for Reims, and when I saw the way he pinged the ball, he does look a player, doesn't he? But by the sounds of it, we've got a lot of other parties who are interested. Some people are saying that he didn't reject us in January, and I think you said that actually, Pete. He didn't reject us in January. It was just the fact that he wanted to stay at Reims for the rest of the season, buy a club, see it out, and then make his move. I would be very surprised if we bid 30 million in January for him. And I know that the owners have alluded, I think one of them made a joke saying, we won't be signing Mbappe, but we'll be signing the next Mbappe. And he certainly looks like a player who's on the up. And I think if we've put that much time and that much effort into the deal, and we've put the money on the table, and we've agreed terms with the club and also with Ekatike, I would be very surprised if we just walked away from that deal. I think it is one that we will pursue. And I think we've already spoken about it, haven't we? Saying that if we're going to go for 2 strikers, albeit I know sometimes he play well. I don't know it, but I believe he can sometimes play on the wing, but also as a striker. I think if we go for 2 strikers, we need a young striker who would be happy to kind of learn his trade. You can't bring in 2 top strikers and only play with one of them, and then potentially have Callum Wilson on the bench as well. It just won't work. But if you bring in a youngster with the promise of you're the future, learn your trade, get used to the city, get used to the club, get used to English football, he would be the perfect player, wouldn't he? Because he's not going to demand to play week in, week out every single game. He'll be someone that you kind of develop and bring in slowly, give opportunities to, but he won't demand a starting 11 place because he's only 19 years old.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a real bright future, but I just can't help but think if we're going to buy a striker, we need someone to be the main striker.
Oh, we do. We do. He would be number 2, Pete. I don't think you can just buy him.
Yeah. The only thing you can say is that, he does tend to play off the left, or he tends to drift in his game. So could he play off the left? If he was to sign, I just think, if we're going to sign anyone, we're going to sign a striker that needs to be first choice, that needs to then push. That pushes Callum Wilson every week. That's just my opinion on that.
No, I completely agree. Completely agree. I think he's a player who you bring in. Yeah, you're right. Saying that he can play on the wing. He's a player you bring in, and perhaps he can play through the middle as well. But he doesn't cause problems in the dressing room, I don't think, because I think he's just learning his trade and he's happy to be there. But you're absolutely right. I think we do need a main striker to challenge Wilson. And obviously to cover for Wilson if he's out. Chances are he would probably be, if we did bring in a main striker, he would be the new number 1 main striker. But yeah, I think if we got Ekatike and a main striker, I'd be delighted. Like I'd live with that in terms of striking options. And plus, Pete, it may even give you what you were looking for, which was Alan St-Maximin on the right, if Ekatike wants to be on the left.
Yeah, that's your alternative, definitely.
Yeah.
But lots to think about, lots to ponder over the next few weeks. But look, that's it. Season done. Fans Forum done for another season. Massive thanks to everyone in the chat. Massive thanks to everyone that showed their support over the course of the season. Massive thanks to the main man, Chris Hall, for coming on the journey with us. It's been a really, really enjoyable season, week in, week out.
Absolutely.
Talking all things Newcastle United with great fans and great people in the chat. You guys take care. There'll be lots and lots of talk in the summer, which no doubt you know where to find us to talk all things NUFC. But until then, you guys take care. Have a fantastic summer, and look, more so than anything, dream big, because good times are coming ahead. Take care. Have a good evening.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.